This is Darius Slay, veteran leader, the kind of cornerback opponents plan around and teammates lean on. Tonight's story starts not with a highlight reel interception, but with a collision, a protocol, and a ripple that could change the Steelers' short-term defensive picture. It happened on Sunday night in Los Angeles. Late in the first half, Slay and safety Kyle Duggar converged on a Chargers ball carrier. Helmets collided. Slay rose slowly, was helped off the field, and did not return. What began as concern in the stands became confirmation after the game. Slay had been evaluated for a concussion and was ruled out of that night's contest. The immediate headline was straightforward: a tough loss for Pittsburgh and a clear injury to one of its starting corners. Coach Mike Tomlin addressed the media afterward with the measured line teams always offer in these moments. "We'll see where this week leads us," a reminder that concussions follow a separate timetable different from muscle tweaks and sprains. The club entered the week treating Slay with caution. By midweek, the official injury reports crystallized the uncertainty into action. Slay did not practice and was placed in concussion protocol. The Steelers later listed him as out on the Week 11 injury report. That ruling took him off the active roster for Sunday's matchup and forced Pittsburgh's defensive staff to rework matchups and increase reps for backups. Let's pause and explain why this matters. Darius Slay is not just another body in the secondary. Signed this offseason to bring veteran coverage and experience, he's expected to match up with opponents' top receivers, to cover the boundary, and to shepherd younger cornerbacks through NFL game speed. When a player of his profile is suddenly unavailable, the impact is multi-layered. Schematic adjustments, personnel shuffles, and psychological effects for a unit that prides itself on cohesion. So what did Pittsburgh do? The injury report and comments from defensive coaches made it clear. Expect James Pierre and rotating nickel packages to shoulder the load. The team's secondary coordinator signaled confidence in depth, but the tone was realistic. Losing a starter like Slay means opponents will test the perimeter more often, and passing game plans can be adjusted to attack the replacement. From a coaching perspective, this is a chess match with compressed time. On short notice, the Steelers can choose to simplify coverage calls for the backups, add safety help over the top, and emphasize pass rush to shorten the opposing quarterback's windows. Those are all valid, time-honored responses. But each comes with trade-offs. More safety help can open running lanes or slow pass rush angles. Simpler calls can keep the defense from disguising looks, and relying on younger corners increases the chance of mental errors in communication. The play calling must become adaptive and pragmatic. Speculation starts to fill the cracks. Some analysts around the league projected a multi-week absence given the concussion diagnosis. Others flagged the possibility of Slay returning quickly if he passed baseline testing and symptom checks. The reality of concussion management is that its unpredictable timelines are individual, and the priority is always health, not schedule. But for fans and betting markets, the absence of a starter produces immediate shifts in perceived odds. Let's zoom into matchups. The Week 11 opponent, a team that thrives on quick rhythm passing and boundary fades, suddenly sees a green light. With Slay out, targets that would normally be rooted away from the veteran can be tested. Defensive coordinator Terrell Austin's adjustments will be crucial. Will he flip his coverage shells to bracket number one targets? Will he blunt quick throws with heavier linebacker drops? Or will he trust his depth and try to keep the pressure coming from the front seven? Each decision tells a story about the team's confidence in its backups. The human side matters too. Slay is a leader in the locker room, someone younger players look to in tight moments. When a leader is injured, teammates often respond in one of two ways. They rally and elevate, or they momentarily lose some of the composure that steadying influence provided. Coaches preach next man up, and many Steelers defenders have stepped into the spotlight before. But chemistry and communication, two intangible advantages that veteran presences create, are harder to replace overnight. Let's run through 3 plausible scenarios for the Steelers over the next 2 to 4 weeks. Scenario 1, short absence, quick return. Slay clears protocol in a week or two, returns to limited practice, and is eased back in. The Steelers, whether a game or two with backups, adjust schematically and regain stability. This is the ideal outcome: minimal disruption, controlled risk, and a veteran rejoining in time for the season's business end. Medical updates this week will determine how realistic this route is. Scenario 2, extended absence, schematic shift. Slay's symptoms persist or baseline testing delays clearance. The Steelers must pivot more safety help, increased zone coverage, and creative blitzing to shorten games. That plan keeps the defense competitive but can expose other weaknesses, particularly against balanced offenses that can attack both run and pass. This outcome tests coaching depth and roster construction. Scenario 3. Lingering issues, roster decisions. If Slay's recovery is prolonged, the front office faces tough roster choices. Do they find a short-term veteran via the waiver wire or trade market? Do they lean harder on younger players and accept a step back defensively? And crucially, how does this affect the team's playoffs window and long-term planning? That's longer horizon speculation, but it's part of the conversation whenever a foundational veteran is sidelined. Now some specifics: which players are likely to see snaps increase. James Pierre is the first name on the list. He'll step into more boundary work and nickel rotation. Coaches will also look for situational specialists, cornerbacks who handle slot work, safeties who can play catch-and-release assignments, and linebackers who can drop into passing lanes. Special teams reps will shift too. Depth players often absorb extra snaps there, and fatigue can accumulate over a brutal November stretch. How will opponents react? Expect more two-wide receiver sets aimed at the boundary where Slay usually lives. Quick slants, pick routes, and screens can be used to force communication on inexperienced pairs. Quarterbacks with timing and anticipation will be encouraged to take shots early to test the chemistry of the replacement cornerback. It's a classic leverage play: attack the new man, create rhythm, then expand the playbook. Statistical context is useful here. Over his career, Slay's presence reduces completion rates on contested throws and increases passer turnover risk for opponents. Losing that net effect can show up in expected points added on passing downs and in third down conversion percentages. Coaches and analytics staff will scour those splits and adjust play calling accordingly, perhaps trading a conservative approach for more aggressive pass rush schemes to create negative plays. Media and fans will, predictably, debate culpability. Some will wonder if better pregame communication or different angles could have prevented the collision. Others will focus on the broader pattern. The Steelers, like many teams, live with attrition across a season. Injuries are part of the game, but the timing and position matter. For Pittsburgh, losing Slay in November is inconvenient at best, destabilizing at worst. The narrative will be framed by how the team responds on the field in the next 2 games. Let's examine the psychological rhythm. After a visible injury, the first defensive series with the replacement on the field becomes a litmus test. Coaches often script conservative plays to allow the backup to settle. But conservative play invites aggression from opponents. The balance between protecting a player's confidence and being proactive is an art more than a science. Veteran coaches who have navigated similar stretches can be decisive here, and Mike Tomlin's track record suggests the Steelers will try to maintain standard operating procedure, but every tweak matters. It's also worth addressing long-term clarity. Concussion protocols have become more conservative, intentionally so. The league and teams prioritize long-term brain health, which means some older norms, quick returns, playing through headaches are no longer acceptable. For Slay and players like him, the message from medical staff will be resolute: return when safe, not when convenient. That ethical and medical standard changes roster calculus, but not the moral calculus. Health wins. Concluding thoughts: injuries redefine narratives. Darius Slay's concussion and subsequent ruling out are a reminder that football's built-in uncertainty can pivot seasons in a week. For Pittsburgh, this is a test of depth, coaching adaptability, and mental resilience. For Slay, it's a medical journey that must prioritize health over headlines. For fans and analysts, it's an evolving story, one that will be judged not just by the next game's result, but by the thoughtful handling of a veteran's well-being and the team's capacity to respond on the field. Stay tuned for the next update, practice reports, coach comments, and any change to the Week 11 status. Until then, respect the process, respect the player, and watch how the Steelers adapt under the bright lights of November football.